Welcome back to Moon Harbor Heroes. Today's issue is Sword and Sight, Issue 3, No Orders. On the cover, Sword and Anagram stand side by side with their backs to the reader. They both are gazing upwards at a breathtaking array of stars in the pitch black above them. Behind the stars, we can see the vague, ghostly maroon shape of the Glacier monster gazing down at them. In the bottom left-hand corner is a silver embossed logo in bold letters, Blockade. We turn the page and our story begins.
The first thing we see in this issue is Anagram running through these tunnels, kind of blindly in this red vision, hallucination, future vision kind of thing. Every time that she takes a corner, it's suddenly there in front of her again. As you get a more clear picture of the monster that Glacier becomes, I'm not going to describe it too much. It's left in kind of, we get, close-ups of, an eye, we get close-ups of, a claw, but we don't get a full body, because there's going to be a beautiful reveal in, 10 episodes.
Yeah.
10, we don't know when, but there's going to be a beautiful reveal at some point soon.
Yeah.
In these visions, you do notice a couple things specific. The lead that you're probably going to want to track mostly is that there are diodes with wires attached coming off of the monster's head that look like they're hooked up to some CAT scan brain monitoring machine. And the facility looks very specifically not like Saber.
Okay.
It's a very different technology style. Anagram, where do you end up at the end of this?
Let's end these panels with those final hallucination visions. And I've been going through just indistinct alleys.
Great.
At this point.
Yeah, so I'm going to wrap up those panels because I think this might work. So we get a bunch of these visions. We get these visions fading a little bit. And then the last thing we see is you in this kind of giant, domed, empty... There are a bunch of alleys that came into this open area. And we get this shot of you just small in this giant cavern space with a bunch of different entrances. You then flip the page and we get the title page.
Okay, so yeah, we get a panel of Glacier's office. I think Glacier is sitting at her desk, and Claymore is
pacing.
And
The chair is clearly pulled out for Claymore to sit, but Claymore is pacing.
Okay, and I think we're cutting into the end of the conversation of you giving the here's what happened.
I'm wrong. Claymore is not pacing. Claymore is standing dead still, soldier-like, recounting this information with zero emotion attached.
Okay.
So, recounting the exact events as they happened. We went down to the tunnels with Seamstress. We got into the city. We met the guards. We convinced the guards to take us to Dirk McLean or Spartacus. We met them. There was a fight of sorts that broke out, but a fight that was all very controlled of, we're going to fight for the rights to use these tunnels. I didn't win, per se, but the deal has gone through. Something happened in the middle of the fight, Anagram ran off, and I have not seen her. And it's kind of very, that much energy, very much that much emotion, very underling to superior, very, this is the information, boss, as it happens, sir.
Okay, so then we get a panel of Glacier reaching down, pushing a button on the desk, and you hear a click. And then she says, Outlet, I need you to send a representative down to hash out the exact details. You hear a, sure, boss. Then they click, and Glacier turns and looks at you and says, so what happened with Anagram?
This is where the pacing starts. At this moment, Claymore begins to pace. And I say, she did something weird in the tunnel. She mentioned something about not being able to trust or the future. You know how I've been saying that she's always saying those weird things about the future. And there's always some cryptic stuff going on there. I definitely almost say the word bullshit, but I don't say the word bullshit because this is my mother and a commanding officer, and I would never do that in front of her. The future stuff, and she mentioned not being able to trust the people around me or that someone I love. I don't remember exactly what she said, but then...
And I think there we get a close-up of a deep frown on Glacier's face.
Mm-hmm.
And the next panel, which no one in the room sees, this is something purely the reader sees,
is the exact same pose, but with like the posterized monster, like straight colors. What colors are we going with for the face?
For the monster?
Yeah. Like, I think this is so zoomed up, you're still not making out details. You're just seeing lots of teeth and just raw flesh color.
I'm imagining, like, we're going, like, a super, super light blue and, like, a slightly less transparent teal and white.
Okay.
I imagine we're going kind of, like, almost Scooby-Doo Abominable Snowman look.
I'm into it. Cool. So we just get, like, you know, those two panels side by side.
And then during the fight, I was kind of preoccupied, as I mentioned. It was not an easy fight, but she freaked out about something and then took off. I saw her running down the tunnels, and then I didn't go after her because I had to come back here and report.
Glacier kind of leans forward to the desk a bit and goes, "You did a good job. Getting Dirk to agree was kind of a long shot. You really proved yourself out there. You saved a lot of people," and she's shifting your savior up and your mundane down.
Yeah, let's shift that savior up to +3. Why not? Claymore suppresses a smile.
Are you still pacing at this point?
I've stopped at this point. Once Glacier starts responding, I stop. This is very... And this dynamic happens a lot between the two of them. We have the, like, we are mother and son, but one thing can change and immediately go to commanding officer. And, like, anytime there's praise, he immediately sees it as commanding officer as giving praise. Anytime there's rejection or disappointment, it's coming from the mom. So it's very like, I'm doing a good job as a soldier, not as a person, not as a son. Or my mommy's really upset with me and I'm upset about it.
So I think we have like a reaction panel of the face there. Like, give me that body language.
I think we actually just get a close-up of the mouth and we see like that like smile slightly turned up, but like bit down pretty hard. You can like see where like, you can actually see like slight imprints of the teeth.
I like it.
Of like, he's biting back that smile. And then when we cut back, we have seen that he has stopped in place and has turned to face her, very square on, very like, I am professional here.
And then Glacier leans down, starts digging through, like pulls open a drawer and starts digging through a drawer in the desk. And she goes, "Okay, top priority, you need to find Anagram." And she continues to dig through the door, but there's a pause.
We both know she doesn't know how to use her phone, which is really ironic given that she's a robot. But anyway, that's a whole other story. I have people looking at the...
And I think at that point you were cut off by a Glacier pulling out and not slamming, but heavily placing a round, almost pager-looking device on the desk. And goes, "Here, this should track her."
Claymore's not even surprised. There's not a wink of surprise on his face. He's like, I should have expected that. Okay, I'll go get her. What is protocol when I get there?
Use your judgment. If you think it's going to be dangerous, call in for further orders.
He nods. I think we get a couple panels of him alone walking through the city. I want to parallel those running through the tunnels from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I want this, like, he's walking, we see, like, the same kind of framing shots of maybe him from behind, maybe him running down a, like, street with, like, a light shining above him. And then I do think we end, maybe not in such an enclosed space, maybe he's in the middle of the city somewhere, but a pulled back shot of him, tiny, compared to these towering buildings over him. I don't think we ever see him look up from the little, like, disc. I don't think there's ever a panel of him looking around in fear. I think it's just, like, he is all business in contrast to Anagram as all emotion.
Right. One detail I want to throw in is, like, on the panels where we can see the face of the disc, it's probably just like a fairly simple dot tracking thing.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
But I think there are a lot of grayed out options. Like, you know, obviously you can't press this things. And one of them says, like, you can, in print, fine enough, most people wouldn't notice it, but it definitely says camera.
Are there any others that that the reader specifically sees?
No, I don't think anything else is written legibly.
Okay, cool. Wow, that's fun and messed up, and wow, I have a lot of things I want to play with that. Okay, and then I think we get to wherever Anagram is.
I can't be nice to Anagram ever.
That's true. So, we cut next to Anagram. Anagram, you are currently in an arcade when Claymore finds you. Do you have a, like, personal name, or is Anagram just the
Anagram's
name?
her name.
Okay, cool.
She goes by Anna as well.
Anna, okay. You are at an arcade when Claymore finds you. You want to describe the game that you're playing?
Yeah, it's a classic fantasy game. We'll call it the
Legend of Zorda? The Tale of Zorda?
I was thinking the Tale of Link.
Yeah.
You play a female protagonist trying to save the hapless Link.
I love that.
And there's just like a pile of quarters sitting on the top of the machine.
And also notable, all around are like various food items, like several empty bags of chips, 2 empty cups, like kind of like fallen over.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like you've been here for a while.
Oh yeah,
this is a nest.
And Anagram doesn't need to eat, but she likes to eat.
Right. I imagine that, especially when doing an activity like an arcade game, it just feels right to just have like something to do.
Oh, yeah.
Like Anagram saw someone doing it once and was like, this feels appropriate.
Yeah.
So I think Claymore doesn't say anything. Claymore comes and stands watching Anagram, probably over her right, directly to her right. So he's like 2 or 3 things down. He's currently kind of standing through the window of one of those like zombie shooter game booths. So like there's like zombies on either side of him. That wasn't meant to be as deep as it was, because the last time she saw him, he got smacked down by a monster. But there we are, kids. He is standing like kind of framed by the like open window of this zombie shooter game. So there's like 2 zombies like launching down on either side of him when Anagram looks up.
I think we get the game over flash screen. Then Anagram looks up and like goes from a smile to a slight frown, and kind of looks down at her feet and just...
I don't think Claymore says anything. I think Claymore like steps through the zombie game, steps through one more game, and then takes a coin off the like top of the machine and hands it to her. And I think there's an edition of this that is a 2-player option. So I think he grabs one and he like sits next to her and like looks at her and then like pushes his coin in like the 2nd player slot.
And she puts her coin in as well. And I think that's a comforter support.
That feels like a comforter support. 6 plus 0, that's a 6.
Okay.
I think this kind of fails because Claymore's so bad at emotion. This might almost come across as either passive-aggressive or angry.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that this is not a thing. This doesn't feel genuine. This almost feels like, we're not going to talk about it now. Like, disappointed dad voice.
Do you have influence on Anagram?
I think so.
I think you lose it as a result of that roll.
Cool. Lost influence over Anagram. Now I just have influence over Spartacus.
And I think we get a couple panels, and then Anagram flatly says, "Sorry, they hit me with something, and I couldn't see the real world."
Claymore kind of nods and says, "It happens to all of us. We will be okay. You're not in trouble with Saber or anything. I just really could have used your help out back there."
How'd it go? Did we win?
No.
We had a big frown.
And then, same kind of exact frame panel where we see her frown. We see him kind of like crack a small smile and he's like, "I definitely lost the fight, but we did get what we wanted."
And we get the smile again.
Yeah.
And I think we get like a pullback panel of the 2 of them. They both have a bit of a smile. Then Anagram frowns and goes, How'd you find me?"
I don't think he has any interest in lying to her. I think he pulls it out and he's like, "I think Saber has one of these for all of us." So
yeah, she takes it, and we get a couple panels of her like looking it over. He goes, "Wait, so yours is embedded, or?"
I have not seen any of mine, but Mom was digging through a pretty large drawer. I don't know why she would keep one for just you in the bottom of a desk drawer somewhere. So I imagine there's probably a bunch of them in there.
And I think we get, at the mention of Glacier, a panel of Anagram, like, opening her mouth, like a word was starting to, like, about your... You know what? Never mind. Do we have orders? And then we see her slipping that device into her pocket.
On the "do we have orders," I think that we cut out of this scene. The next thing we jump to is Claymore on the phone outside of the arcade. I think Anagram's in the background of the shot somewhere, but like not immediately in the foreground.
I think still probably playing a couple more games.
Yeah, I think we see her through the window. The first thing we see is, "What do you mean we don't have orders?" And that's like the first panel at the top of the next page. And then the voice on the phone says, things are a little busy here. So I just need you two to go be a kid or something. And he's like, the sword, Claymore, says, no, but I... And the line goes dead. And then he looks back through the window. We see just the back of his back and the shot of the glass panel of Anagram playing this game.
I think at this point, on that panel, Anagram is just on the other side of the glass, just looking out at him.
That's amazing. Terrifying. It's really, really unnerving, actually, but I love it. And I think we then get a, like, kind of close-up-ish shot of the other side of the glass. From Anagram's point of view, we see the same, almost the exact same framing of Anagram, like, looking through the window. But we see Anagram's reflection with Claymore's face, like, kind of superimposed behind. And then we shift focus, so now it looks like Claymore is more the focus. And Claymore just looks defeated. He is not good at not being a soldier. The next panel we see is a close-up of Claymore's phone, which is a nicer, more updated phone than we saw Anagram have in the last game.
I mean, mine's not even a smartphone. It's just got the
Right.
big buttons.
And the screenshot, the thing we see is whatever our universe's version of Google is, and a random internet search of top 10 things for teens to do in Moon Harbor.
And then we have a dialogue bubble from Anagram that says, what do you mean we don't have orders?
And then I think we cut up, and it's the two of them just, like, walking down the street. We see him scrolling, Claymore scrolling, and he's like, Outlet said that we needed to be a kid. I don't know if there's training involved, if we need to be, like, going to a high school. Our high school's open right now? He looks at his watch, it's 7:42 p.m. He's like, okay, so high schools probably aren't open right now.
Then Anagram pulls out her phone. She's like, I'm going to call her myself. We get a panel of her, like, pressing a couple buttons, and then Claymore's phone rings.
Claymore looks at it, and then he looks down. He looks at the phone. He looks up, and then while he's still looking at her, he presses the end button, and then he says, and then he lifts the phone up, and it's like, we see the phone next to his face on a panel, where it's like, according to this list, the best thing to do in Moon Harbor is to go to the movie theater as a teen. However, the movie theater is still being rebuilt, so it's not open right now, according to his other search. And he just, like, swipes, and it's another search there. He's like, according to this other search I just did. So it flips back. The second best thing that City Girl 97 says is there to do in Moon Harbor is to go to the planetarium and check out the dope exhibits.
Anagram is, like, this whole time just poking at her phone while listening, then just puts it in her pocket and goes, okay, to the what is that?
I don't think he explains. I think we just get a panel of, like, the two of them walking in silence, and then the next page, we're at the planetarium. The Moon Harbor Planetarium, I think, is super far north in the city. Like, I think it's, like, at the point where the city is still within city limits, but it stops being city, and we start getting to, like, kind of beautiful, like, hillside.
Okay, I'm into that.
You can see the city lights, like, in the distance behind the planetarium as we, like, pull up. It's something we have to drive to. I don't think either of us have our licenses.
I don't think I understand how a car works.
That's true. I don't have my license. I'm 15. However, I do think that we both have, like, the light version of Max's motorcycle. I think we both have, like, a
scooter version?
Yeah, like a moped version of that motorcycle. So we cut to the two moped motorcycles, outside the planetarium, in a small parking lot that it has in this, like, hilly area. The planetarium, it seems like, is kind of associated with the, like, beginning of this national park there. So we get two different panels. We see a panel of the two of us looking at the planetarium with, like, our backs to the parking lot where we can see the two, like, clearly marked Saber cycles. And behind us, like, over the trees, you can see the, like, shadowy outline of the Astron spaceships. And, like, there are clearly posted signs of, like, do not go any further. Danger, like, clearly posted, like, danger signs at the in the distance behind us at the edge of the trees.
Right.
And then we turn, we see a pullback shot of the planetarium at the top of this hill with the tree line, and then Moon Harbor in the distance.
How's the parking lot? Like, how full?
It's pretty empty.
Okay.
I think maybe R2 and maybe 4 other cars.
Okay.
I would imagine 2 of which at least belong to people who work there.
Cool.
We get up to the entrance, and there is a probably a girl about a year older than us, or a year older than me, at least. Middle of high school, working, chewing a wad of bubblegum at the window. And she's like, tickets for 2. Claymore pulls out a credit card, which clearly has the Saber insignia emblazed on it. And he passes it over. And she swipes it. And he kind of passes it over a lot. Like, I think he has his own source of money. Or he has a fund. But he likes, like, showing off that he's in Saber. And
I think we get Anagram chiming in with, I still don't understand that thing. I mean, how is that more valuable than gold?
And then I think we cut inside to, we get this, like, beautiful shot of the sky, and there's music playing. We get, like, the faintest hint of music notes. We don't get, like, a steady stream of them, like in some comics, but there is some music playing.
And I think Anagram is just, I think it's pretty much the 2 of them in there.
Yeah, it's the 2 of them, and then the one person who runs it, who is sitting, like, disinterested in, like, a booth in the corner.
Yeah, I think Anagram is just standing in the aisle, like, staring upward, like, arms out, looking at everything, and just obviously overjoyed at all of this.
Yeah.
And, like, we get a couple panels where she, like, points to big groups. She's like, those are just not there, and that's all different there, and this is... and things like that.
And I think Sword is actually, like, smiling at it. Like, I think Sword expected to be annoyed by this, but he's happy to see that she's kind of back to normal. He was really, really worried, even though he wouldn't have said it. And he's looking, and, like, he's not standing far off from where she is, as she's pointing and gesturing. There's a bag of uneaten popcorn, like, next to them, because I think the thing, like, in the travel blog said to, like, try their popcorn, it's great, or, like, nothing goes better with a planetarium than some popcorn. And we just didn't touch it.
Yeah.
We do see Sword looking at all the places that Anagram is pointing.
And then I think there's a couple panels of just quiet, with them staring up at it. She turns to Claymore and just kind of gets a much more serious face and says, it's really amazing now. Like, it's a lot louder and more crowded than it is, but you can walk down the street without, worrying about getting eaten by a dragon. I think I need your help following up on something, but can you just trust me and not ask many questions?
We see a tightening of his jaw, and he doesn't really know how to respond yet. It's very antithetical to who he is as a soldier to not ask questions, to not, very antithetical of him to not ask questions of another quote-unquote civilian.
Right.
Not someone high in position of authority.
Right.
Saber does a really good job of, like, if people are in charge of you, you listen to them, but if not, you need to, like, consider every angle of every piece. And I think Sword is like, I don't know if I can do that.
Says that, or just... I
think he says that, yeah.
Anagram says, I have to stop this from happening. I have to. When you share a tale of future loss with someone, which I think I did there.
Oh, okay.
Ask them if they think you have the ability to avert that loss.
Oh.
If they believe you do, mark potential, blah, 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 blah.
I have to stop this. That's you asking that question, inadvertently.
Yeah.
I think Sword sighs and says, I know you do. I know that you know what's to come more than any of us do.
And I think the panel that has those words, we get we're seeing Claymore from Anagram's perspective, and we see like a bit of the beast behind them, just in the maroon Anagram vision.
I love that. And then Claymore says, but if we're going to stop it, we're going to do it together, right?
Is that a yes or no?
I think that's a no. I think that's him saying that you don't have the power to stop this, but we do.
Okay, so...
we being me and Saber.
If they don't, mark guilty and shift one label up and one label down, my choice.
Sorry.
At that, Anagram says, then help me do it.
I think we get a moment of the 2 of them, like, making eye contact with each other. And I think this is the 3rd of those pulled out panels. We get a panel of the 2 of them together in this massive domed space. But this time, it's all lit up, rather than it all being very dark. We've got this, like, beautiful sky full of stars above them. Okay. I think we see that moment of the 2 of them in solidarity underneath this domed sky of stars, standing together for the first time, really, in any time that we've seen. We haven't really seen the two of them in focus together in this issue.
I think we have a scene that's a panel that's a close-up of several pages laid out of sketches of that very particular style of medical equipment. And then we see like Anagram's hand holding a pen, finishing up one. And I think it's like a top-down shot. We see Claymore's like head leaning over, looking at them, and we pull back a bit, and they are spinning on a merry-go-round in a park that is just straight up abandoned, other than the two of them. Like there's some trash going by, and then we get like a panel of it spinning, and one of the papers flying off, and then it kind of coming to it, slowing down to a stop. So I need to know what lab would have this equipment. I know it's not much to go on, but it's important.
How detailed are these pictures on a scale of like kindergartner drawing to like these are pretty good?
Anagram is really good at sketching.
Cool.
She grew up as a fortune teller, seeing the future, and she developed that skill to be able to more effectively show those visions.
Great. I think that the first thing we see in this is he's holding a paper, and we see like him standing upright. And then the panel tilts and we see that he's actually not standing upright. He's like slightly leaning. So like the next panel is framed on at a slight angle.
I like it.
Because he's so off balance. He's trying to like look at it and it's kind of like the looks like the thing is moving. So he like catches onto the monkey bars on like the side of it. He's just holding on. He's like steadying himself. And then he like steps under the light and kind of like shifts where the paper is. And he's like, hold on, what are these? And he like points to a little spot on the diode where it looks like there's like little carvings into the side of it. Like it's a series of 7 like dash lines, and it's repeated. It looks like on 3 sides. So triangulating the little diode, there are like 7 dashes.
Okay. Anagram, I think we get a panel of Anagram taking the paper, looking in closer, and going, is it some kind of identifier? I mean, do you have any contacts at Saber that might be able to narrow down who uses that?
He's looking at the diode and he says, I don't need to go to anyone at Saber. The 7 dashes are kind of a trademark of Monarch power. So I think we have someone to pay a visit to.
Yep. And then I think we get like Claymore like heading towards the bikes. And then Anagram's like, nope, one more time up the slide. We gotta be kids.
The other thing we see is a pack of like cigarettes near them, clearly unopened. This is a pack of unopened cigarettes that they bought with the thought of like, we're going to be kids, we're going to be normal teenagers. And then they were like, nope, we're not going to do that. Neither of us want to do that. we're like, Claymore's like, my body is a temple. We didn't see any of this scene, but there's definite implication that it happened. So yeah, we see Anagram like in the background of this shot of Claymore walking away, where we see Anagram like one more time. And then we cut to the next page, and it's the two of them trying their best to look very adult-like in the lobby of this.
And Anagram is like in a bright yellow sundress.
Right.
How is Claymore dressed? In casuals?
I think his casual is like college business major sophomore.
I think there's still a Saber logo.
Oh somewhere. Yeah, he's in like a polo. He's like in like, I think it's probably pink. I think it's a pink logo, a pink polo with the Saber logo emblazoned like on the corner of the collar. Khakis and a belt that perfectly matches the shoes. Like, he looks very presentable, but he still looks like he's maybe 19. And it's also about 9:15 p.m. And they're in this reception office. The woman who's working at the desk is an older woman, probably 70s. And she says, no, you may not go in to see Mrs. Hansen. She doesn't have any appointments for the evening, and honestly, she's in the middle of some very important work. So I'd like to ask you to leave before I have to call before I have to call security.
And I think Anagram is like leaning on the desk with all the drawings from before just kind of crumpled, like held roughly in her hand. She kind of waves. She's like, no, we need information on this, and kind of looks back at Claymore like, do the yelling thing.
He just very calmly nods and says, we understand. And he looks at the table and he says, Margot, is it? I'll be back in less than 4 minutes with an appointment. And he takes Anagram by the arm and steps out the door. And then immediately pulls out his phone, and I'm going to trigger that soldier move, where I call on Saber for help. When you ask Saber for additional resources, equipment, or information during a mission, roll plus soldier. On a hit, they'll resupply you as best they can. On a 10+, the resources are highly classified or experimental. Take +1 ongoing to deploying them throughout the mission. On a miss, Saber sends what they think you need, regardless of what you actually requested.
I think we get a panel with you calling, and then we get a panel picking up on the other side, and we see the intern normally assigned to Max, and we hear requisitions, provide your identification.
He says, Claymore, the sword, Snow, and then his identification number.
I think that sword knows this is not their normal requisition officer at all. Then we hear, okay, a very harried voice. Okay, yep, that's yeah. What do you need?
I'd like an appointment with Elizabeth Hansen at Monarch Power for now.
Okay, 1 sec. I'm sorry, he tweeted what? Yeah, I'll be right on it. Go ahead and roll.
It's a 7. On a hit, they'll resupply you as best as they can.
Okay.
I don't get a +1 ongoing, but they do resupply me as best as they can.
Okay. You hear a series of rapid keystrokes, and then you hear, okay, yeah, the appointment's in there. Just have them recheck and click.
I walk back in.
I think right before the click, we hear, no, okay, yeah, you need to get rid of that Instagram feed. That is not, that's got to go click.
And we walk back inside, and he says, Hi, I'm here for an appointment with Miss Elizabeth Hansen, please.
And I think, yeah, she's like, I just told you she's unavailable.
And then he says, I have an appointment. Can you please check your calendar?
She spins the monitor to show you, points at it, sees the appointment, goes, okay, yeah, go on up.
I think Monarch Power looks like what you expect a supervillainous company is building to look like. It is tall. It is very sleek. It is very pristine. The windows are dark. They're not shiny. I mean, it's also nighttime, but the windows are tinted.
And I think the corners of the top of the building have large protruding metal frameworks running up.
Yep. In kind of a angle outward.
Yeah.
I love that. And also the first shot we see of it, it is completely silhouetted by the moon behind it. So we get this we get the supervillain. The only thing this picture is missing is a lightning bolt cutting across the screen. And so we see the two of them get in an elevator, and then we cut to Monarch Power. We get the little call-out bubble that says Monarch Power. And then I don't know if there's a description in it or if it's just a kind of a reference to something major that happened with Monarch Power in a different comic. It's just Monarch Power. Yeah, it's just the call-out bubble that says Monarch Power Headquarters, Moon Harbor proper.
Moon Harbor Heroes is produced by Anthony Sheets and TP Hugh, and edited by Anthony Sheets. Anthony can be found on Twitter at Icy New Year or at icynewyear.com. T is the host of Incubator on Air, a new play podcast available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play. They can be found at T Huth Playwright on Twitter or TPHuth94 on Instagram. Anagram was played by me, Anthony Sheets, and the sword was played by TP Huth. Music for this issue was Hitman by Kevin MacLeod. A link to the license and his website will be in the show notes. Our logo was designed by Beautiful Beasties. She can be found on Instagram at beastly.doodles or on Patreon at patreon.com/beautifulbeasties. If you want to get a hold of us, email us at moonharborheroes@gmail.com or on Twitter at moonharborcast. If you enjoyed this issue, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes and recommending it to friends. Word of mouth is really the best way for us to bring these stories to more people. And thanks for helping us save the world. We'll see you next issue.